Hello, educators. My name is Dani Driusso, and I'm going to be your host today as we talk about working with kids who have soft voices or who adults may perceive as shy in the classroom. I have been an instructor with Quest Leader since 2016, and outside of Quest Leader, I am also an author, a speaker, and a facilitator who specializes in self-expression and confidence. So I work with kids of all ages, from working in elementary schools with Quest Theater with the smaller kids to working with fully grown adults, which I just like to call big kids. And one of the things that I've realized through my work with kids of all ages is that the concept and idea of shyness is wildly misunderstood. Especially when we're putting a label on a small child saying, "You are shy," often that carries with them through the rest of their lives. And I have worked with kids who are labeled shy oftentimes when they're really small. And then I have also worked with adults who grow up being told that they're shy when maybe that's not actually the case. So how do we make sure that these soft voices feel seen, heard, understood, and don't feel like we've projected a label onto them that defines who they are? First, I'd love to open up the conversation of looking at shyness through the lens of shyness being a social construct. It is a societally constructed label that has been put onto individuals to identify who they are and identify things that we can recognize as human beings as, oh, I know what that means, right? Just like things like, oh, that person's tall, that person's short, this person's shy, that person's loud. And what we do is we use it as an identifying factor without looking at the environmental factors that could go into play to define that characteristic. Because when we look at it, shyness is actually a feeling. It's not like we are permanently shy. There are people who we feel safe around or environments that we feel safe around to express ourselves for a multitude of different reasons. Even the loudest voice in the room or the person who takes up the most amount of space in certain rooms, it's oftentimes they feel safe to do so in those environments, where if you put them in a different environment with different variables, they might also feel shy. And if I told you right now, okay, act shy, or like if you could imagine feeling shy, can everyone imagine feeling shy? What does that feel like in your body? Or how does your body be affected by being shy? Maybe your shoulders kind of cave in a little bit. Maybe you get a little bit more tight knit with your body language. If you are able to access that feeling, such as anger or sadness, that is a feeling. That's something that we all have access to. It's not something that is unique and niche to certain types of individuals. But the reasons why we might feel shy are unique and niche to different types of people. And it takes into a lot of nuances into account, which means that when we look at nuances, we're talking about layers of our human experience, which oftentimes factor into our lived experience. It factors into our environmental experiences of what's in our immediate environment. It factors into our privilege, like what our privileges are. And it also factors into the people who are around us in that environment. Other factors that come into play are also the way that we learn and the way that we communicate. So how we express ourselves may be different than how we intake information. So sometimes when I'm working with a student who is quite quote unquote shy, or I have been told by an adult that they are shy, I really focus on how are they processing information? Where are they looking? What is their body language saying? If you haven't heard this already, I got this from the education system from working in schools. So you might have heard this, you might not, but ABC, all behavior is communication. So sometimes individuals don't communicate as verbally as other individuals who are verbal processors. Some individuals actually observe more than they process outwardly. So they have more input than they do output. So they might speak when they feel safe to do so, or they may speak when they actually have something to say. And you'll notice that these individuals are always looking around, observing their environment, and they are great listeners. They are great at observing, they are great listeners, and that is just how they intake information. I also want to add in there that even children may have different privileges than us as the educator of that room. Whether that might be that English might not be their first language, or maybe they are learning in a different style or a different way than how we are teaching, and it takes them a second to catch up to what we are saying. Or even as they grow, they're learning how to express themselves and what is safe to express. And things that we might not know is also their home environment that may be teaching them that certain ways of expressing themselves or sharing their opinion isn't safe. So now that we know all that information, what now? What do we do? What is our role as educators? I think the best thing that we can do as grown-ups, as the grown-ups in the room, and you're probably already doing this, is letting them figure out who they are with our support without projecting our understanding of who they are onto them. And I know it can be really hard when we have a big classroom or we have a lot of kids who have a lot of different needs and have a lot of different learning styles and have a lot of different processing styles. And one of the best things that we can do is be curious, ask questions, and refrain from telling a child what they are, right? So you are loud, you are quiet, you are being too much right now. Like those are the things that can be quite detrimental and we don't even realize it, but they're forming core memories for those children and really molding them into thinking of themselves in a certain way. So on the flip side of this, what do we do when we've accidentally told a child that they are shy or accidentally put a label on someone? Well, we can always apologize. It's okay to apologize as adults and say, hey, I'm really sorry that I told you that you were shy, or I'm really sorry that I used that word. That wasn't fair to you because you are a completely different, beautiful, multifaceted person. And that may have just been one aspect that was just relevant today. Now, when you're talking to 6-year-olds, it might be, hey, sorry, I called you shy. You get to be whatever you want to be. You don't have to be shy, or that doesn't have to be a part of who you are. And one thing that we have to remember is that we can only do the best with what we have and the tools that we have in our toolkit. So I want you right now to, if you're feeling any shame for maybe putting these labels on yourself, putting these labels on your students, putting these labels on your own children even, or maybe children that you have in your life, know that you can only do the best that you can until you learn more information and then you have the tools and skill set to continue to do better. So within Quest Theater, one of my favorite things of working with a company like this that is process-based is that it gives a ton of space for support in having kids figure out for themselves who they want to be or how they want to show up or the spaces that they need to feel safe to express themselves. So if we ever have a student who doesn't really feel like participating day one, that's okay. We never force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do because it's not about the finished product being absolutely perfect and this child performing so us as adults can feel really good about ourselves for that class doing really well or whatever, right? It's about the kid discovering for themselves what they are capable of and what that looks like for them and explore what they get to do and be and share with their peers and with their parents, which is also why we are kid-led. We go into the classrooms and we say, what story do you want to tell? How do you want to share it? And we give them permission for that week to discover whatever that means in each classroom session that we go and participate in. And oftentimes the parents and teachers are quite surprised at what their children are capable of, or they're quite surprised of who wants the main roles or who is going to be the one who wants to speak and be seen and show up on stage. And it's because that is a safe place for them now to, in a controlled environment, express themselves without fear of judgment or without feeling like they're going to get it wrong, because we're not going to get mad at them if they mess up. We're not going to get mad at them if maybe one day they don't feel like speaking. We're there as a support for them to discover for themselves how they want to share who they are with the world around them. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things, and that makes me so honored to be an instructor with Quest Theater. Thank you so much for being a part of our little mini Quest Theater chat on Shy Soft Voices. If you'd like to bring Quest Theater into your school, you can find out all our information at questtheater.org. And if you're worried that your school might not be able to afford it, don't worry, because at Quest Theater, we really believe that cost should never be a barrier to children receiving an arts education. So feel free to check out our website. We do have options for funding on our website. And if you have any questions about funding, feel free to contact our office. They are absolutely fabulous in making sure that you have the information that you need to get Quest Theater into your school. So that's all for this session. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you soon in your school as part of the Quest Theater team.